lovely good evening and welcome to Camnet Television Main News. My name is Jeffrey Zambo to present, and our top stories tonight: the Anti-Corruption Commission rearrests BOWMAN LUSAMBO. Journalists celebrate World Press Freedom Day. Former Finance Minister CHIKWANDA dies. In international news, Lagos building collapse, death toll rises to 10. And in sports news, Manchester City winning Champions League wouldn't change perspective of club, says CLUB-BRUYNE. And now the news in detail. Journalists operating in Zambia have called on government to enact the Access to Information Bill, which is hoped will give them advantage to operate freely. Speaking to Camnet TV on the sidelines of the World Press Freedom Day commemoration in Lusaka Tuesday, Chimunyangandu, a journalist, however, acknowledges that the operating space is improving with hopes of becoming better. And Newsdigger's managing editor Mukosha Njenga notes that while the operating space has become better, the media should not relax but continue offering credible information for the public to make informed decisions and hold duty bearers accountable. More in this report.
In any democratic country, the media is placed fourth from the three arms of government, being the executive, judiciary, legislature, and then the media as the fourth estate. The basic role of the media is to bridge the gap of information by sending across messages of entertainment, educational, and informing in nature. In the course of duty, the digitalization of the world, political interference, among other reasons, have placed journalists, the people charged with the responsibility of correct information dissemination, under threat. With these challenges not being addressed, others have died in the course of duty, fighting for correct information dissemination. 3rd May each year is dedicated to the media, aimed at celebrating their space globally. In Zambia, journalists from various media houses turned up to celebrate their day, recognizing the gains and losses made this far under the theme Journalism Under Surveillance. Newsdigger's managing editor Mukosha Njenga is calling for responsible journalism in the era of social media.
The space where we are right now, with these smartphones comes also a lot of room for surveillance, where there are threats where someone can maybe hack your phone and they can be monitoring who you're talking to and putting your sources at risk, especially with the work that we do at Newsdiggers, where we are into investigative journalism. We try as much as possible to protect the whistleblowers who come to us, but then there's always a threat from outside because not everyone wants certain information to come to light. So that's where now the issue of surveillance comes.
The theme for me is timely. You realize that we are always being looked at as people that will help in other people giving information that will shape ideas or just basically the talk of the country. So journalism under surveillance basically calls for us to continue doing our job, and ensuring that we do it to maybe the best of our capabilities. When you talk about
today's theme actually reminds us as journalists to cast our nets wider, even as we disseminate our information away from the usual traditional media. If you look at the environment now, more people are accessing information online using various media tools. So this calls for the media to also expand in the manner they inform and disseminate information.
Particularly for a journalist who has over the years faced a lot of challenges, ranging from unconducive working environment to working conditions from respective media houses where we come from. How is this one special? It is special because we have a new government. We have an administration that in opposition promised a conducive working environment for the media.
The media operational space has been marred with conflict, especially with the political party cadres and sometimes the police. But these journalists spoken to acknowledge the significant improvement of the operating space since the United Party for National Development took office.
Given that where we are coming from, there was a lot of threats and intimidations. A lot of media houses were closed down, a lot of threats were made. But then with this new government now, I think we would be unfair if we don't mention the fact that so far, while they have been in office, I think any journalist will attest to the fact that there's this new aura of freedom that we all feel, and we are more able to enjoy our work right now.
I think that we should commend the current government is the issue to do with cadres. I think this was not the situation a few months ago, because you'd always be intimidated by the cadres, but the current regime has put their foot down to ensure that cadres are not there to harass journalists, and I'm only hoping that this will go on for many years to come. That be a bit controversial, but if we are given what we want, I think that's it. We only need to be given what we want.
And so in the new Dawn government, the operating space has been friendly, free from harassment so far, and we hope this continues.
Prudence Chota is Camnet TV senior journalist who says the enactment of the Freedom of Information Bill will further strengthen the ability for journalists to operate freely.
Imagine waking up today and there's no news. People literally have to depend on social media for news. There would be chaos in the world. Newspapers with no news, television with no news, and we tell people to rely on the news that they'll get online. There's going to be information, misinformation. There's going to be information that is not verified. This gives us a perspective of how important mainstream media is. So even as we see a lot of digitalization, as we see a lot of online platforms coming up, as we see a lot of people doing citizen journalism, that does not imply that they are doing the actual work that the journalists do. So it's high time people started appreciating the work that people do.
Lack of the access to information bill, I think this is something that the previous regime spoke about. There was intention for it to be passed. The current regime has spoken about it, but again, what is disappointing is that they're taking it back to different stakeholders for consultations. But I feel for the last 20 or so years we've been talking about this. For me, my understanding is that different issues have already been discussed.
Meanwhile, Charles Zulu is Diamond TV photojournalist, always behind the camera. This time around, he's in front of it.
Most of the times when we go out there in the field, we are not given we are not at free liberty to execute our works properly, because sometimes we get caught up in the crossfire. We'll be in the midst of cadres, violence. We are most of the times chased out because people wouldn't want, probably they would prefer not to be filmed, not allowing the journalists to do their work because they feel infringed on their rights, probably on their privacy. But the thing is, we are the fourth estate.
We continue to watch the space as we keep on offering balanced information for the public good, regardless of being under surveillance. Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Media Liaison Committee Chairperson Enoch Ngoma has attributed the shrinking media space to lack of political will by those charged with a responsibility to make favorable policies for the sector. Mr. Ngoma, who was speaking during the commemoration of the 2022 World Press Freedom Day, has cited the reintroduction of the value-added tax on newspapers as overwhelming to the papers companies while paying VAT on adverts they publish amid high costs of production. Meanwhile, Information and Media Minister CHIKWANDA has reiterated government's commitment to enact the Access to Information Bill. The 2022 World Press Freedom Day commemoration is dubbed Journalism Under Surveillance.
Zambia joined the rest of the world in commemorating the World Press Freedom Day, which falls on 3rd May annually, a day to recognize media practitioners and their tireless work as the fourth pillar of democracy. The 2022 Press Freedom commemoration is dubbed Journalism Under Digital Surveillance, a theme which intends to highlight the multiple ways in which surveillance and digitally mediated attacks endanger journalists and journalism. Officiating at the event in Lusaka, Information and Media Minister CHIKWANDA has reiterated government's commitment to enact the Access to Information Bill as one of the pressing issues that needs urgent attention.
For this reason, the New Dawn government, under the leadership of President Hakainde Hichilema, is focusing on 3 key areas in its media development agenda, namely editorial independence, media self-regulation, and public access to information. And as we commemorate this year's World Press Freedom Day, I am glad to state that we have made significant strides in this regard.
And speaking during the commemoration, the Media Liaison Committee Chairperson, Enoch Ngoma, has urged government to fulfill promises made on media freedom and development.
Honorable Minister, we therefore propose that the VAT tax be removed to enable survival of newspapers. The print media industry is almost crippled by so many taxes, and we pray that these taxes can be removed. We believe that the media too should be given the same incentives given to other sectors. As you can see from the exhibition which the Honorable Minister very soon are going to tour, there is a lot of passion and potential in the Zambian media today.
The event was well attended and stakeholders in the media fraternity added their voice.
When President Hichilema won the elections, in his press briefing, he promised to ensure that reforms come for us to be able to operate independently. What is worrying is that it's taking too long. The Parliament has ended, the previous Parliament, and we didn't see any of the promises that he made being introduced in Parliament. We are now being told that for access to information, government has to consult, and yet this issue, we've been consulting on this issue for over 30 years.
The minister later toured some media houses' stands as they exhibited their works.
This government is different from the past regime. What happened in the past regime will not repeat itself in this regime.
So it's also up to us to really reach out to our colleagues so they can really feel that community radio is a need for the community and not for anyone to impose.
I'm actually very surprised that we're still getting intimidation. That is something we have that has not reached the PS or myself, and in a situation like that, we kindly ask our colleagues to report that to our officers. We're here to protect you. Not only are we here to protect you as a ministry, but we're here to protect you as a government. We are not going to allow any intimidation by anybody, whether politically or whatever you may call it. We will not allow intimidation, and that has been a pronouncement by the president.
Prominently, what the media in Zambia is constantly asking for is a conducive environment as they execute their works. Alex Shimba, Camnet News, in Lusaka.
Meanwhile, the UPND Alliance has joined the global village in appreciating the media fraternity for shaping the world to what it is today. In a statement to Camnet News, UPND Alliance Media Director Davis Mataka says the media practitioners are unsung heroes who speak for the voiceless, hence should be appreciated. The UPND Alliance media director has noted with sadness that some journalists have been wrongly targeted as enemies rather than a special breed of professionals whose single duty is to bring out truth, fair play and justice to the world. Meanwhile, Mr. Mataka has particularly paid tribute to those who have fallen and paid the ultimate price in the discharge of their duties in world hotspots reporting wars, civil strife and conflict zones. He says the alliance is alive to the atrocities that Zambian journalists have had to endure at the hands of the former regime, in which some had their media houses shut down, while others suffered persecution and were thrown into jail just because they were seen as foes who exposed their excesses in government. A woman of Lusaka's George compound in Matero constituency has been arrested for dumping a newly born baby in a pit latrine. Emotions were high as police and officers from the Matero Fire Brigade team retrieved the dead body of the child. The residents have expressed concern over the act of dumping an infant in a toilet, saying the woman is a suspect and should not go unpunished. More in this report.
Life in densely populated areas like George compound in Matelo constituency is a wonders complex. It is just last week when a matter surfaced where a man was allegedly defiling his 12-year-old stepdaughter. Tuesday, 3rd May 2022, the residents of the same locality woke up to the news of a woman dumping a newly born baby in the pit latrine. The infant was retrieved by the fire brigade. Emotions were high among members of the general public. Amid the commotion, the suspect was speechless and filled with shame. She had to listen to every negative comment from her neighbors. She had to be rushed into the police vehicle to avoid being lynched by elite members of the general public. The residents wondered why the woman decided to kill the baby. Matelo constituency, Lima Ward 30 councillor Daniel Mwewa has observed with concern the moral degeneration in the community as vices continue to be the order of the day.
As a local leadership, we are so worried and we are so concerned of the happenings in Lima Ward. Just 3 days ago, brothers were fighting, one of them died. Just last week, we had a report where a 44-year-old father was sleeping with a 12-year-old stepdaughter. Just within Lima Ward. So I think as leaders, we are so worried what is happening in our community. So especially good for
by broadcast time, the Zambia Police Public Relations Unit was yet to give an official position on the matter. Patrick Soko, Camnet News in Lusaka.
The Anti-Corruption Commission, SEC, has rearrested embattled Kawushi Member of Parliament BOWMAN LUSAMBO and slapped him with 3 fresh charges of attempting to interfere with a witness. Mr. LUSAMBO was immediately arrested Tuesday morning at the Lusaka Magistrate Court shortly after his corruption case was adjourned. And speaking to the media, Mr. LUSAMBO said his arrest would not end the poverty, hunger and unemployment Zambians are facing. More in this report.
Minutes after his alleged corruption case was adjourned to the 17th of May 2022, embattled Kawushi Member of Parliament BOWMAN LUSAMBO spent close to 30 minutes inside the courtroom fearing of being rearrested by officers from the Anti-Corruption Commission who were patiently waiting for him outside this courtroom. But after spending those minutes hoping that the officers would change their mind and not effect the warrant of arrest, Mr. Lusambo seemed to have gathered his courage and faced the officers, who immediately pounced on him. He was arrested at the Lusaka's Magistrate Court Tuesday morning, where he was appearing for a mention in a case. He is jointly charged with his wife with 10 counts of possession of property suspected to be proceeds of crime, conspiracy to defraud and tax evasion.
But what has he done? What has he done? You brought all these police officers to take an arrest. Yeah? Say what he has done. What has he done?
Insala ichemo mchalo. Insala full.
Bundled in an ACC open van, the embattled lawmaker, who refused to sit down, said arresting and bundling him in a vehicle at the instigation of the president will not help resolve the main problems that Zambia is currently facing.
Insala kulide mchalo. So umi tumine mwe mwewe ati. Problem ni insala not BOWMAN. Okay. Insala ne na ona BOWMAN ina kusana ufainda. Sala jubele ni chushafi. Sala sapato ishishafi kwa shafu kama wala. Ndio tumia mkuti defin tu ifidi kwete chalo. Kaka pokola. Umulando wansala abantu mchalo. Mwacha wandu wale kuchushafi. Pesa promoter, don't worry. Nebi kuti ifi tazkwete nchito. Uba tumine insala. Insala uba tumine mwebe umutumina ati insala efi mchalo noti BOWMAN ukikata BOWMAN ona mwamu ikata BOWMAN edo awe tafali mkwa insala efi kulile mchalo kale michusha Kabwe
According to the Anti-Corruption Commission, ACC, Mr. Lusambo has been arrested on charges of interfering with witnesses. The embattled lawmaker, who is also former Lusaka province minister, is alleged to have interfered with witnesses in the alleged corruption case he is currently facing before court. The commission has since slapped him with 3 counts of attempting to interfere with witnesses, contrary to Section 112(1)(b, as read with Section 389(1) of the Penal Code, Chapter 87 of the Laws of Zambia. He is expected to appear in court soon on the same allegations. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Former Ministry of Higher Education Permanent Secretary Owen Mgemezulu has been granted a 30,000 kwacha cash bail pending hearing in a case he is accused of corrupt practices involving over 33 million United States dollars. This is in a matter in which he is accused to have alleged and willfully failed to comply with the applicable law or procedure relating to procurement in entering into a contract with China Energy Engineering Group, Human Electric Power Design Institute Company Limited. More in this report.
Former Permanent Secretary under the Ministry of Higher Education, Owen Mungemi Zulu, will have to wait before the court can proceed to prosecute his case, as the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, has not yet issued a consent to have his matter prosecuted under the Economic Financial Crimes Court. However, the accused, who appeared before Lusaka Magistrate Jennifer Walia Tuesday morning, was granted a cash bail of 30,000 kwacha with 2 working sureties. The former Permanent Secretary has been taken to court for failing to abide by the guidelines of procurement when he contracted a Chinese company to design and build FTJ Chiluba University in Mansa and Kasama without the knowledge of the Zambia Public Procurement Authority for approval. Allegations allege that between January 1st, 2017 and December 31st, 2017, being a permanent secretary in the Ministry of Higher Education, he willfully failed to comply with applicable law or procedure relating to procurement by entering into a contract with China Energy Engineering Group Human Electro Power Design Institute Co. Limited worth $225 million for the design and building of FTG Chiluba University without subjecting the said contract to Zambia Public Procurement Authority ZPPA for approval.
Otherwise, as you can see, I'm in good health and good spirits. Nothing to worry about. Okay. And we wait for the justice system to do its job. Thank you.
The matter has since been adjourned to the 18th of May 2022 for possible plea and commencement of trial, awaiting instructions from the Director of Public Prosecutions. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Patriotic Front presidential hopeful Emmanuel Mwamba has alleged that it is unconstitutional for the Anti-Corruption Commission to commence fresh investigations on former Infrastructure Minister Ronald Chitotela in a case he signed a deal in with the Commission. Mr. Mwamba, who spoke to Camnet News, says Mr. Chitotela is protected by the Plea Negotiations and Agreements Act of 2010, which he followed when he signed the deal with the Commission. Meanwhile, the Anti-Corruption Commission has apprehended Mr. Chitotela in a case in which, whilst serving as Housing and Infrastructure Minister in May 2019, was arrested and charged with 9 counts of possession of properties reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime. More in this report.
The Anti-Corruption Commission has Tuesday, 5th May 2022, apprehended former Tourism Minister Ronald Chitotela in connection with investigations on possession of properties reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime. The arrest is in relation to a case in which Mr. Chitotela, while serving as Housing and Infrastructure Minister, was in May 2019 arrested and charged with 9 counts of possession of properties reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime. A settlement agreement was, however, entered into between the then Commission management in the previous government and Mr. Chitotela in accordance with Section 80 of the Anti-Corruption Act No. 3 of 2012. And Patriotic Front presidential hopeful Emmanuel Mwamba has alleged that it is unconstitutional for the Anti-Corruption Commission to commence fresh investigation in a case in which an agreement was already reached between the Commission and the offender.
The matter of Mr. Chitotela, from what we understand, is that those negotiations took place under the Plea Negotiations and Agreements Act of 2010. The law allows, under the SEC Act of 2012 and this particular act, for the law enforcement agency to go into an agreement if they feel that the evidence they have is not really prosecutable, but they are justified that there could have been some commission of crime. So negotiations are entered into.
Mr. Mwamba argues that the arrest of Mr. Chitotela has emanated as a result of President Hakainde Hichilema's directive that the case be reinvestigated. It says such is an abuse of office, as the President has no right to direct the investigative body to reopen a case that was closed.
The President should not direct law enforcement agencies to pursue matters on individual basis. The President should let law enforcement agencies act professionally. We need to promote independence of these institutions. We need to ensure that the president is divorced from these proceedings. And if the SEC have acted because the president directed, for me that will be a fight of corruption being used as a tool to oppress political opponents.
Monday, 25th April 2022, President Hichilema informed the media that a named former cabinet minister was acquitted in a matter. He was arrested and charged with 9 counts of possession of properties reasonably suspected to be proceeds of crime. The president wondered why the suspect only paid 100,000 kwacha for the offense and said he had asked that the matter be reinvestigated.
Use the same legal provision to forgive one of the sitting ministers in the previous government. When I took office, when you put me in office, I took interest to see, because I used to see one minister going to court. All of a sudden, he was not in court. I said, what happened? I want to see. I said to ACC, what happened to that case, DPP or whatever? They said, no, there was a settlement out of court using this law. And I looked at the settlement commission. I was horrified. It will come very soon.
Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
On a sad note, President Hakainde Hichilema has expressed sadness at the death of Zambia's former Minister of Finance, Alexander Chikwanda, thanking him for his enormous contribution to the country. According to a close family source, Mr. Chikwanda, 83, passed on Tuesday, 3rd May 2022, after an illness. Mr. Chikwanda, who was born on the 24th of December 1938, was elected as Kalulushi Member of Parliament in 1973 and was nominated as MP in 1978 by Zambia's first Republican President, Kenneth Kaunda. He then served as Minister of Finance from 2011 to 2015 under the Patriotic Front administration. The head of state has wished heartfelt condolences to his widow, Mrs. Margaret Chikwanda, and the entire family. The family has indicated that funeral announcements will be made soon. This is Camnet Television Main News. We'll take our first commercial break. We'll be back with more news after this break.
Savenda. Save nations, develop Africa. Connecting African countries to each other and connecting the African continent to the world. This logistics and global supply chain management group offers end-to-end solutions across all sectors of the economy. Agriculture, energy, telecommunications, finance, construction, transportation, and insurance. And now, its initiatives are greener than ever, operating in line with government guidelines and working to provide energy security for Zambia and beyond. 25 companies united under one group and one vision. Savenda. Trade and logistics made easy.
In keeping with a school tradition, it's the May 2022 Back to School with Butter Toffees. Get the all-new Butter Toffees original leather school shoes that are antifungal and antibacterial treated, hence reducing common school shoe odor and thus are eco-friendly. Hurry to your nearest Butter outlet countrywide and grab a pair of the all-new original Butter Toffees. Butter. Built to last, built for life.
Team, the trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the ministry.
There's so much data.
Mom. Yes, baby.
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow!
Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
Camnet TV is becoming big and better. You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
Welcome back. We continue with the news. Operation Young Vote Executive Director Guest Nyirenda has called on the Ministry of Home Affairs to investigate who is behind the torture of a Patriotic Front cadre identified as Balotelli in a video that has gone viral on social media. Mr. Nyirenda says the victim has also been seen handcuffed and has wondered if the police are involved in the torture of an unarmed citizen. Mr. Nyirenda says if any citizen, including the law enforcers, have an issue with anyone, they are supposed to use the right channel of dealing with the matter and not taking the law in their own hands. More in this report.
A video has surfaced on social media depicting a Patriotic Front cadre being brutalized by suspected United Party for National Development UPND cadres. The victim, identified as Balotelli, is seen in police handcuffed and can clearly be seen to have been beaten and brutalized, as noted from the conversation by the UPND cadres.
Wadaba uniona lero nifunza wadaba uniona iwe sunga ziba ati apa chamene nichita nichoipa Balotelli sunga ziba ati ikintu choipa kazi yanga iwe vene nanga pamene imvera iwe Balotelli pamene mwenzo oshoka kumaliro ya Gaddafi munzana alira na nina maliro mapaya ba PF vene futi wanyamuka iwe Balotelli mwenda kumaliro kuja wendo yambo chira chani wambo opkanya vakudya kutira chani mwenzo kanisa chani.
However, Operation Young Vote Executive Director Guest Nyirenda has condemned the act by the cadres and has called on the Ministry of Home Affairs to identify who is behind the torture of the said victim and why the victim was handcuffed.
On one hand, we see that government and especially the president is doing his level best to ensure that this cadreism and thuggery violence comes to an end. But on the other hand, we see that there are these elements that are doing everything they can to dent the name of the president, everything they can to dent the name of the UPND. We call upon the UPND to ensure that they take charge of these particular persons. We call upon the president to ensure that the Minister of Home Affairs and Internal Security takes charge of that particular matter.
Mr. Nyirenda adds that there are better ways of expressing one's grievances whenever they are wronged, which is reporting the matter to the law enforcers and not taking the law in one's hands.
So we call upon the relevant authorities to take charge, to move in quickly and ensure that they arrest, they bring to book those people who are behind this particular video, those who are torturing that particular person, those who handcuffed that person and brutalized him. I mean, if people felt that they were brutalized when the PF was in power, they have they have the law, they have the institutions that can do what is supposed to be done. This is a government of laws.
And police spokesperson Ray Hamonga did not respond to the query over the matter by broadcast time. Cadreism was at its peak in the previous Patriotic Front administration, where cadres could torture innocent people and walk scot-free. While the issue of cadreism angered a lot of citizens, taking the law in one's hand for those who came in contact with the cadres does not help the situation, but only worsens things, hence the need to ensure that the law is respected. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
The Zambia Police Service says it has not failed to find the allegedly abducted mobile money agent Pamela Chisumpa, who was reported missing on the 16th of April 2022. Speaking when he appeared on Camnet TV, Zambia Police spokesperson Ray Hamonga has charged that the alleged abductors are not ordinary citizens but high-tech knowledgeable criminals, hence the need to use the correct techniques in investigating the matter. In this vein, the police spokesperson says the Zambia Police has also applied the use of forensic science in its investigation. More in this report.
The story of the allegedly abducted mobile money booth attendant Pamela Chisumpa seems to have died down since it was first reported on 16th April 2022. While some concerned parties have been questioning if the Zambia Police has failed to make a close on the matter and if they should move on, Zambia Police spokesperson Mr. Ray Hamonga says the police are up to task, adding that they have not failed. Pamela Chisumpa, 22, was reported missing on 16th April 2022 after allegedly being abducted and tortured by her assailants who were demanding 15,000 kwacha as ransom. Speaking when he made an appearance on Camnet TV Tuesday, Mr. Hamonga says it is not dealing with ordinary citizens.
And we're not dealing with ordinary citizens, that these are people that actually know that if we have this thing, then we can be caught. So you saw what happened. We recovered the phone. It was abandoned somewhere elsewhere on a rubbish pit. So even if you are tracking for the phone, you are looking for the wrong person. Secondly, remember that person was posting some posts on social media. We mentioned that person was posting on social media. In fact, he was actually even using an identity of somebody who was just a student and who had nothing to do with this matter. So you see what it is. So it's not like a question of just a simple case where somebody has a phone, then you track it, and then you get it. No. We are dealing with persons that have high-tech knowledge what they are doing.
Meanwhile, the police spokesperson says the Zambia Police Service is up to date and applies forensic science on certain cases. He has further warned those who are in the habit of misusing social media.
We have an active forensic department where we are able to investigate these issues. Like right now, even the issue of Pamela, we have applied that forensic science to ensure that we're able to get to the bottom of this matter. Not only in this case, even in our other cases. Wherever we need forensic science to help us with investigations, we're able to do this. I want to warn people that the way people think that because you are having a gadget in your hands and you are pressing buttons, then you are not able to be seen where you are. In fact, it has even become very easy for us to track you. It's very easy for us to track you than even when you use the word of mouth, because what you have posted there is written. So we'll follow you up. And we have the high-tech equipment to do that. People think that the police is still sleeping, or maybe it's an old police. We want to warn them that immediately you do that, you'll be picked. And I'm telling you, even now, people have been issuing derogatory statements against the head of state, defamation statement, bordering on defamation. We have just gone to pigeon like a fish, just get them and take them, bring the police, and they're arrested because of what they have been doing.
Citizens await the conclusion of the Pamela Chisumpa case. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Local Government Service Commission has dispelled rumors that it has fired all town clerks and council secretaries at local authorities in all 116 districts in the country. Speaking during an update on its operations Tuesday, Commission Chairperson Mr. Axon Sejani says the Commission has only done reshuffles at various levels to enhance effectiveness. Mr. Sejani says he has also revealed that the Commission has so far dismissed 19 staff members in connection with diverting funds meant for the local authority. More in this report.
In its quest to deliver development to all parts of the country, the Local Government Service Commission says it has made reshuffles at various levels in local authorities in the country. Addressing the media Tuesday, Local Government Service Commission Chairperson Mr. Axon Sejani explains that the move has been done to prevent an attitude of laziness, explaining that while some have been promoted, others have been downgraded. Mr. Sejani notes that while these are only reshuffles, the Commission will not shy away from parting company with those who will not deliver. He has further dispelled rumors that all town clerks and council secretaries have been dismissed.
I want to see all our principal officers roll up their sleeves, pull up their socks, and get down to work. The government has placed a lot of stake on the local government sector. We will not shy away from firing people pure on account of incompetence. So I call upon all our principal officers to heed this warning. We will share a lot of responsibilities going forward.
Meanwhile, the Commission Chairperson has expressed concern that despite cadres being stopped from illegally collecting revenue in public facilities, local authorities are still failing to sustain themselves. He explains that the Commission is aware that some people are diverting funds adding that the commission will not hesitate to make an example of the same.
The chief accountants at the offices in the headquarters and the ICT people, there's leakage there. There are serious leakages there, which are making our councils not realize the revenues that are due to them. So, task number one to our people that are manning this council, the chief executives, these we are shuffling. Please seal these loopholes.
Mr. Sejani asked that the commission will in a few days' time complete its human resource audit at the Lusaka City Council, which it embarked on last month, aimed at assessing academic qualifications of staff. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
The Federation of Free Trade Unions, FFTUZ, has called on the Ministry of Labour and Social Security to conduct an assessment of sectors which do not have unions in order to facilitate for the setting up of the unions. In an interview, FFTUZ Secretary General Victor Muyumba notes that despite workers having the legal right to form unions, many workers are exploited as they are usually stopped by their employers from forming unions. Mr. Muyumba says the labor force which has suffered mostly is that of the general workers at various industries across the country.
Because if a sector doesn't have a union, it becomes difficult for those members to access information, even information that borders on their labor rights. We cannot continue to have a situation where people are exploited, harassed because they don't know their labor rights. And it will be too much for Ministry of Labour to be disseminating information to all the sectors, industries, and etc. It is just important that each and every industry has a union. And through that union, as they interact with their workers and members in this case, they will be able to educate the members on their labor rights. We know that indeed Ministry of Labour as well is supposed to educate the workers on their rights, but to be too much of asking. We would want to also call upon those workers in different industries that may have realized that they don't have a union, but are in a position to register a union, to come together and visit Ministry of Labour in terms of finding out what they can do in order for them to have a union.
You're watching Camnet Television News. We'll take our second and final break. We'll be back with international and sports news.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
We welcome you to the wonderful world of Savenda Electronics.
At Savenda Electronics, we pride ourselves in manufacturing high-quality electricity and water meters.
Boasting of the first of its kind state-of-the-art manufacturing plant in Zambia, Savenda Electronics manufactures customized smart electricity and water meters of international standards for both the local and international water and electricity utility companies. Our highly computerized factory, run by qualified staff, makes, calibrates, and electronically tests the smart meters to ensure only those meeting customer specifications are delivered to the market. Some of the main features which come with our meters includes notifications about low units, tempering, low battery, and many more customized features. Savenda Electronics provides on and off-site after-sales service and has favorable contract terms for water and electricity utility companies. Savenda Electronics, the real deal.
And now in international news, the death toll in a building collapse in Lagos, Nigeria, has risen to 10, including a child, officials said on Tuesday. The Sunday building collapse in Nigeria's economic capital caused the death of 10 people. The Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service confirmed the updated death toll on Tuesday. Rescuers had initially retrieved 8 bodies from the rubble. One additional person was rescued on Monday, bringing the number of survivors to 24. Officials say they sustained varying degrees of injury. For more in international news, here's a roundup.
The death toll from a building collapse in Nigeria's economic capital, Lagos, has risen to 10. Rescuers had initially retrieved 8 bodies from the rubble, but on Tuesday, the Lagos State Fire and Rescue Service confirmed the new toll. One additional person was rescued on Monday, bringing the number of survivors to 24. Officials say they sustained varying degrees of injury. The mainly residential 3-story building collapsed late Sunday in the Ebute Metta area. The National Emergency Management Agency said an investigation was underway to determine the cause of the collapse. Since 2005, at least 152 buildings have collapsed in Lagos, according to a South African university researcher.
Rescue workers are racing against the clock to save 8 miners who have been trapped for 2 weeks in a Canadian-operated mine in Burkina Faso. Trevali Mining Corp announced on April 16 that 8 miners, 6 from Burkina Faso, a Zambian and a Tanzanian, were missing following a flood underground at the zinc mine at Pekoa, 100 kilometers from the capital, Ouagadougou. Prime Minister Albert Ouedraogo, in a visit to the site at the weekend, blamed irresponsibility by those in charge at the mine. He alleged that several days before the accident, dynamite was used on the open air part of the mine, which weakened the underground gallery and enabled the flooding. Ouedraogo said there would be an inquiry to find out who was responsible. He also said mine officials would not be allowed to leave the country. The families of 6 miners have filed cases against persons unknown for attempted manslaughter, endangering life, and failing to assist the person in danger.
UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres on Monday urged the international community to fully invest to help impoverished Niger fight jihadist insurgents threatening the government in Niger and neighbouring countries. Guterres said equipment and training are needed and that the peace and stability of the whole Sahel represent an absolute priority for the UN. Today, I believe that looking at the remarkable performance of Nigerian army, the international community must invest fully in strengthening the capacities of the Niger army, from a financial point of view, from an equipment point of view, from a training point of view, and you can count on me to make this plea on your behalf. Several Western countries support Niger in its struggle against groups like Al-Qaeda and Islamic State, notably France and the United States, which have military bases in Niamey and Agadez region in the north. As terrorist attacks continue to increase in the Sahel and spread to the Gulf of Guinea states, the international community must realize that this is no longer a regional or African issue, but a global threat. Niger MPs on April 22nd voted in favor of allowing deployment of new foreign forces fighting jihadists.
It's now time for sports news. Kevin De Bruyne says Manchester City winning Champions League would change the perspective of the club. The Manchester City midfielder says winning the Champions League would change how people view Manchester City. City have not won the competition despite spending more than £1 billion and lifting 16 trophies since the 2008 takeover by the Abu Dhabi United Group. Pep Guardiola's side have a 4-3 lead against Real Madrid heading into the semi-final second leg on Wednesday. Following their defeat by Chelsea last year, City would make their second successive final if they get past the Spanish champions. Bruyne added that the fact that they have been fighting for numerous years and getting to the latter stages means they have been doing really well. Manager Guardiola has previously said He needs to win the competition with City, otherwise his time at the club will be judged as a failure. To end Camnet Television main news, the headlines once again. The Anti-Corruption Commission rearrests BOWMAN LUSAMBO. Journalists celebrate World Press Freedom Day. Former Minister Alexander CHIKWANDA dies. In international news, Lagos building collapse, death toll rises to 10. And in sports news, Manchester City winning Champions League would change perspective of club, says Kevin De Bruyne. We now look at the Camnet verse of the day coming from Isaiah 54 verse 17. No weapon formed against you will succeed, and you will refute any accusation raised against you in court. This is the heritage of the Lord's servants, and their righteousness is from me. This is the Lord's declaration. Thank you once again for watching Camnet Television Main News. My name is Jeffrey Ziambo. Good night.